Namaste everyone, it's Chris with Ninth Limb, and as promised to some of the participants of a recent workshop of mine, I'm teaching you the engagement of the latissimus dorsi muscle. This is an isolated engagement. The latissimus muscle is an external rotator of the arm and a depressor of the shoulder girdle, meaning it pulls the shoulder girdle down. This is really useful because that will help relax the neck muscles, and a lot of people don't externally rotate enough when they're weight bearing on their hands, like in a push up or a low, like what they would call a chaturanga. They're externally rotating. A lot of times that can be caused somewhat by ill-developed lat muscle or asymmetries in the muscle tension, so there's more in the front than in the back. In particular, pec minor might be pulling. So, which is another depressor. Pec minor is a depressor of the shoulder girdle, and so this is very important. It's key in this isolation, and I'll demonstrate that, but I want you to just notice briefly, if you can, if one of my lats is more developed than the other. And just take note of it, I won't necessarily bring it out. One key to look for is the distance between, as my arms rest at my side, is the distance between my elbow and my side. Between my torso and my elbows, there's a gap, and one side probably looks different. And that's one clue when we're looking for asymmetries in the lats. Because this would come in a scoliosis treatment, and just other people that don't have scoliosis have asymmetries. It's almost like on a spectrum. At some point, you have so much asymmetry that the spine starts to deform. Anyway, so the engagement isolation would be a block. If sitting like this isn't possible, I would find a ledge somewhere that I could stand, and at my standing height, my arm basically rests out like this. I put the block at a distance so that with a straight arm, it can rest. I don't need to reach or side bend. My spine is neutral and my arm is resting. And I kind of have gorilla knuckles, so not necessarily, you can do it in any arrangement. You can do it on the fingertips. There are just certain arrangements that seem to be better for relaxing things in the forearm. If the forearm muscles are triggering, meaning I'm using my fingers, that's a distraction for the mind. We're really trying to quiet the tension of all the other muscles and hone in on the lat. So with my free hand, I reach across, and I'm looking, I don't really have like lats anymore, but I guess like bodybuilders, it's this big muscle that comes all the way from the inferior angle, meaning the bottom corner of my scapula, which is a triangle. So the bottom corner, it attaches right there, and it attaches to behind the arm. Those are the only two attachments on the top. And from there, it pulls down towards, just towards my hips. And so, the action of this arm will be down and in, and I'll reach across and I'm looking for a firing of the lat. Some part of the lat might be firing and another part not. So I'm looking for a full lat engagement, and it will start to externally rotate, and it can even help to find this if you have the arm already in external rotation. This would be an internal, this is an external rotation. So now notice what happens to the arm, eventually, or the hand. Eventually, you might have like the back of the wrist, and this is like a really far external rotation. And that might help with your engagement. You might find some side bending happening, so attempt to straighten it out. It engages different part of the lat. If I'm side bending towards the lat, it engages more of the top. And if I'm side bending or lateral bending away, it engages more of the bottom. But I want to be neutral and I want to find the whole muscle. Just like that right there. I pretty much got the whole muscle in there, and I just felt the humerus slip back into socket a little bit better than it was. We just did a bunch of acro yoga, so my shoulder wasn't, it's kind of messed up after acro yoga. Could you come around here?
Yep.
And so really important, you don't want any chest engagement, because that's a depressor too of this whole thing. The chest engagement will start to bring internal rotation, where pec major attaches, but also because pec minor attaches to the scapula, that will start to bring some anterior tilt to the scapula, which will also pull the humerus forward. So that would look something like that. Like I'm still getting a lat engagement. You can see the lat firing, but my chest is firing too. And so I want to let go of that. I help that by externally rotating the arm, and I might even remind myself, once I find the lat, then I can bring this hand to the chest and make sure there's nothing firing here. You would see the tendon right here of the pec muscle, or you might see just some skin moving, and that would be an indication that pec minor is flexing. And other muscles are engaging. I have a little bit of forearm here, a little bit of tricep here, a little bit of deltoid here, but I want to minimize everything and get as much into the lat. And this is a very quiet practice, so if you yawn when you start doing this, you're doing it right. You also need to breathe deeper. So this is part of so many of the workshops that I teach themed around, the lats are really important for like an upward facing dog, for back bending, for just so many things, just balancing the tension structure around the shoulder girdle. So a lot of applications for this, and just try it for yourself and notice how this will pull the shoulders back. It's really useful for any kind of vinyasa system in yoga or just in life. I work with a lot of weightlifters, and this sort of thing is good for them. So if you have any questions, definitely comment below. Let me know what your experience is with this. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Namaste.